In this recording, we're going to look at some more information from section 2 of chapter 1 that deals with what's called levels of measurement. So when we identify our variable of interest and the type of data that we have, we also are looking at a level of measurement. Now, nominal is defined here as being categorical names. So things that would be a nominal level of measurement would include gender, let's see, what else? Eye color, I know we say that a lot. Political affiliation, how about that? Maybe your major field of study, that's a nominal measurement. Major. Even something like zip code. Now you might look at that and say, well, zip code is not a category, it's not a name. But think about what a zip code is. A zip code, like, for example, I live in Elm City. So my zip code is 27822. And if you live in Rocky Mount, it might be 27801. I can't really say that, well, 27822 is better than 27801 because it's higher than because it's not really describing measures between those numbers. Those numbers describe a physical location. Okay, so that again is a geographic location, so that's a nominal measurement. Ordinal is also categorical, but it can be ranked. Things can be put in order. So things that we use that are ordinal would include your letter grades. Like, if I say, I can't say the letter A is better than the letter P, but if I'm talking about letter grades, then I definitely can say an A is better than a C, that sort of thing. Okay, so letter grades, A, B, C, D. A ranking of an athlete or a team. Like he's ranked number 1 in his field, whatever. Even whenever you are asked to answer a survey and they'll say, well, based on your service today, how would you rate us on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay, so anything that's a rating scale. And some surveys will have the numbers 1 to 10, or it could be good, better, best. The rating scale might be good, our service was good, it was better, or it could have been the best you've ever had, that kind of thing. So those are ordinal measurements. Now, these two, nominal and ordinal, are categorical in nature, whereas interval and ratio are more of a quantitative type measure. And basically, these two are the same except for one distinct difference, and that is a ratio has a true zero. So, what does that mean, a true zero? Well, some things that would be considered interval is something like an SAT score. Now, you can't score 0 on the SAT. Even if you sit for the exam and you just put your name on the paper, you get some kind of score. Okay, it's not a 0. Same thing's true for other types of measures, like an IQ score. You're not going to measure even someone who is very, very limited in intellect. They're not going to measure a 0 on an IQ score. Temperature is another one of those measurements. Because when I consider a scale, like, here in North Carolina, very seldom do we go below 0, but there are some places that they will have measurements that are below 0. So the 0 is not the bottom, it's not the lowest value, not a true 0. It's just a measure on the scale. So these types of things are considered interval measurements, whereas anything that starts off at 0, like height, You know, when you're measuring with a ruler, it doesn't start off at the number 1. It starts off with 0 and then a measurement. Okay, so the edge of the ruler is at a 0. Height, weight. Let's see what's some other things that are ratio. Age, salary. Sure hope that's not the other, and things like time. So these types of things are ratio measures. Now in the next slide, we've got some here to consider. Like you're given the hair color and you're asked to determine what kind of measurement is this. Well, it's just a name. You can't say one hair color is better than another, so its level of measurement is nominal. The same thing's true with zip code. Its level of measurement is nominal. But when you think about letter grades, you can put those in order, and some letter grades are better than others. ACT, that is a numerical score, but here again, it's not going to start off at a 0, so that's an interval measurement. Height and age, those are ratios because they start off with a true 0, whereas temperature is an interval measurement because you can have measures below 0. You don't have a true 0 as such. Now, in choosing our samples from the population, remember that word from earlier, we have several techniques that we can use. And one that's mentioned here is a random sample. And that involves using a random number generator. Well, before we get into that, I'd like for you to think about it like this. Suppose we want to select 15 subjects out of 85. So we've got 85 items and we want to choose 15 of those. And every subject is equally likely to be chosen. Okay, now that's the nature of randomness, that each subject has the same chance of being chosen. Well, one way we could handle that problem is to write down the numbers 1 to 85 on little slips of paper, cut them up, put them in a hat, mix them all up, and then draw out numbers, like draw out number 16 and put it to the side, and then draw out number 38, and then draw out number, and that would give us, do that 15 times for our 15 subjects. That's one way to do it. Of course, it's, very ineffective to do it that way. So instead, what we can do is use something called a random number generator. And the generator is on page 778 in your textbook. And that is a very long list. So what we're going to look at is just page 13 in your textbook. So turn to page 13. And to start this with this random number generator, we are going to, kind of close our eyes, take our finger, and choose a spot and start. Okay, so I'm just kind of, blindly picking a spot, and where my finger lands is on the 4th column. And the 5th row. Okay. Now, when you randomly choose, you're going to kind of shut your eyes, pick a spot, and that's where you start. But so we're all on the same numbers. We're going to start 4th column, 5th row down. And that number is 88948. Now, we're only concerned about choosing 15 subjects out of 85. So we only need 85 numbers. So I'm not going to look at all 5 digits. I just want to look at the last 2 digits. Now, to choose the next one, so my first number I'm choosing here is 48. To choose the next one, I just go right down the list. Okay, so right underneath that one is, make sure I'm on the right page here, is 43. Okay, and I just keep going right down the column, just the last 2 digits. And I have 19, 07, 27. Everybody follow what I'm doing? 57, 24, 68, 60, 85, 18, 58, 76, 97. Oops, I got a problem because I only have 85 subjects that I'm concerned about. So with this 97, I'm going to toss that one out. And then my next number was 58. Here again, that I've already gotten chosen over here. So I can't choose twice. I'm going to throw that one out. And then 13. So these are the subjects that would be in my sample. The 48, 43, 19, so that's using a random number generator. A second way of collecting a sample is systematic. And I noticed in the book it says every case subject. Usually we do this when we're maybe on an assembly line and it's predetermined that maybe as an example we're going to choose the 17th item coming off the line. So that kth value, 17th, is already predetermined as part of quality control. And then they pull that item off and test it to see if it meets standards and that kind of thing. That's how they choose the samples that they're going to be testing. A third way of choosing a sample is stratified. Now the root word here for stratified is strata, which means layers. Okay, so with this, what you do first we divide the population into layers. And then randomly choose within each layer. For example, here, I used to work with the Student Government Association, and they would have people that were sent as representatives from homerooms, and the seniors started complaining because there were not as many senior homerooms as there were freshman, sophomore, and junior homerooms. So in order to make an equal representation between the classes, what we did first was we divided the population into freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Okay, so that was the layers. That's the first part of this, when we divided it up into those things. And then, let's see if I can get this straight. Then after we got it divided into layers, then we chose the same number of individuals from each layer. Okay, so then representatives were chosen from each layer. Perhaps from each group. And that's called a stratified sample. The fourth type of sampling, the sampling technique, is cluster. And with a cluster, notice that it says use intact groups. Now, one way that can be done, as an example, is, the state of North Carolina has 100 counties. So we could consider each county as a group. So if I wanted to, find out the opinions of the citizens of the state of North Carolina, and I was trying to pull a sample, what I would do is first randomly select the district. First step, randomly select the district. So we'd randomly pick one of those 100 counties. And then the second step, use all the members, use all the citizens in that county.